Thank you. Welcome back to Sports Fans Only. I'm your host, KJ, the sports guru. And you guys, can you turn the music? Turn the clapping down, please. Down. Nothing wrong with a little extended clapping. Nice little introduction. Anyway, welcome back to Sports. Turn the damn clapping off, please. Thank you very much. Jesus. As I was saying, welcome back to Sports Fans Only. I'm your host, KJ, the sports guru, and today we're going to revisit a series we like to do called What Could Have Been. And today I want to highlight a player most people under the age of 40 do not know. His name is David Thompson. And I was shocked to find out that David Thompson is Michael Jordan's favorite player.
He's my inspiration. I think, as I was growing up. I grew up watching NC State. I was a David Thompson fan. I enjoyed the way he played, his aggressiveness, his scoring capabilities. And at 6'4", being able to play his game above the rim was truly amazing for any kid to watch. The whole term and the whole measuring of vertical leap began, I think, with David Thompson. He vaulted off the ground, exploded off the ground. 44 inches was a lot. It still is a lot. You can tell when he was there above you, he surprised you.
That was his favorite player coming up. If you go look at one of the interviews that Jordan does, I don't know exactly which one it is, but if you go take a look at it, on his dorm wall, he has David Thompson dunking on somebody in his dorm room. But anyway, he was the co-founder of the High Flyers. I like to call them the Luke Skywalkers of the early era. When I say Luke Skywalkers, those are the guys that play above the rim. He was the first, along with Dr. J, and in Michael Jordan's opinion, his skill set was actually superior to Dr. J. And if he would have stayed in the NBA longer, he would have been the greatest scorer of his era. Very high praise for Michael Jordan. And of course, later that would go on to produce players like Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Vince Carter, Kobe Bryant, more recently Zach LaVine, Zion Williamson, and many, many others. Now, although Dr. J gets most of the praise for being that first recognizable Skywalker, a lot of people say that David Thompson had the superior skill set. He was the first to do the fadeaway and make it a part of his game. You know that fadeaway that Jordan did? And Kobe replicated, and a lot of other players replicated. David Thompson was the first to really utilize that. He was also the first to really do it the hard drive, jab step, reset, hard drive, stop on a dime, pop the little 15-footer. He was very, very known for doing that. So this is a story about a talent that was unfulfilled but showed great promise for about 6-year span in his professional career. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of David Thompson and what could have been. Now, before we dive into this video, I want to start off by preferencing two legendary people, one being Michael Jordan, the other being Dan Issel. And I'm going to do Michael Jordan's quote first, and I quote, "David Thompson would have been probably the best scorer ever to play in his era if he was to stay in the NBA longer." And the great Dan Issel said, if David played until he couldn't play any longer, he would be mentioned in the same breath as Michael Jordan. Very, very, very high praise. If I had to sum up David Thompson just by looking at all his highlight films and things of that nature, I would just have to say he's a physical beast. He had a 44-inch vert, and this is where that mythological story comes from, when they say somebody placed the quarter on top of the backboard and he was able to go up there and grab it. I would like to see video evidence of this, but by all accounts, the dude can pretty much jump out of the roof. He was as explosive as anyone that's ever played the game, and his quick first step, which set him apart from most, had people saying once Michael Jordan came along, like, he's the next David Thompson. Like, his game was so much like David Thompson. When people saw him play, they was like, oh man, he's got a David Thompson type of game. David Thompson changed the game. Now, this is another quote from Michael Jordan. He said, "David Thompson changed the game forever. His dynamic high flying is still very rarely seen in today's game." Now, as I described to you earlier, David Thompson had more than his fair share off the basketball court problems, ultimately deciding whether he stays or leaves in the NBA. So we're going to sit back and we're going to revisit all of David Thompson's triumphs and all his demises when it comes to his story. So, you see, people say he had all these problems with alcohol and cocaine. Well, it could be because of the fact that he couldn't handle the pressure and criticism that came along with being the best. And that's what a lot of you kids got to understand. You want to be the best. Everybody wants to be like Mike, but can you handle the pressure like Mike? It's a very good question to ask yourself, because a lot of these players, they succumb to the temptations that are out there, such as drugs, money, sex, immoral behavior, stuff like that. So it's a very good question, and it seems as though David Thompson was not able to handle that pressure because drugs was his go-to. Now, I'm pretty sure in his family, maybe there was some type of thing that ran through the family where people abuse alcohol or drugs, but that's not always the case. You can't always blame it on that. So he definitely had a very, very hard life when it came to the drugs. And he started very, very early. Now, when he was considered the best, the only other person that you can compare him to was Julius Erving. And not to mention that David Thompson was making the most money of any player in any sport. He was the highest paid player at that time of all time. So that pretty much tells you all you need to know about David Thompson. Just an essence of how great he really was. But as I promised, we're going to definitely get into his premature retirement. Thompson's addiction to drugs was, the thing that really messed David Thompson up was the drugs, obviously. But a lot of the people said he was around this stuff when he was in college, but he just never did it because his focus was getting to the NBA so he could help his family out. It wasn't until the pressures of getting all that money, the pressures of being the highest paid athlete, the pressures of bringing the Denver Nuggets to the playoffs, the pressures of just being a young kid with a lot of money. That was enough for him to turn to it. And he said he tried to stop many times and he just couldn't do it. His willpower was not strong enough to overcome that deadly addiction to cocaine and alcohol, which, along with heroin, crystal meth, those drugs, I wouldn't advise anybody to try. Now, I wouldn't advise anybody to try any drugs, but if you're gonna try some drugs, which I do not advocate, kids, do not do drugs. But what I will say is, if you just have to do it, stay away from heroin, crystal meth, cocaine, and alcohol. Use your imagination, which other ones would be socially acceptable outside of that. I don't advocate it though. I'm just saying. They say the greatest one of all time, not gonna mention his name, but they say he smoked weed. I know I done seen LeBron looking like he smoked weed a lot. Bunch of players. White, black, Chinese, don't matter. Some of them do the acceptable one. From your perspective, I guess you could say which one is acceptable. Anyway, I'm getting so far off track. Anyway, the one thing, let's get back on track here. That really made him retire happened in the Manhattan Studio 54 nightclub where he was pushed down the stairs. Yes, you heard it correctly. The thing that really derailed it, really derailed it, is when he got injured, when he got pushed down the stairs. That about did it for David Thompson's career. And David regrets all this to a great extent, saying, and I quote, "I had the ability to be one of the greatest basketball players in the history of the game, and I pretty much blew it," which is an understatement. Now, enough of this depressing news about David Thompson. Let's go back and see some of his greatness. Throw him some flowers real quick. I don't want to just make it seem like he was just a F up. You know what I mean? So how about we start off, let's talk about his ABA career. It's hard to understand how he even ended up in the ABA, but like I said, probably because of drugs or rumors of drugs, even though he said he didn't take any in college, and a lot of people say he never took any, because he was just simply too good to be in the ABA. After playing a season in the ABA, David Thompson had accomplished more than a lot of people could have accomplished. He became the Rookie of the Year, averaging 26 points a game. Thompson was in the All-Star game and gained MVP honors in that. But wait, there's more. Thompson, in his only season, led his team to the ABA Finals. And guess who he met there in the ABA Finals? Yes, you're correct. Julius Erving. And they battled each other like beastly ancient soldiers fighting for their lives. Hope I described that pretty well. usage of words. Anyway, I guarantee you during that game, there was no fan that was left disappointed. Just imagine two of the greatest dunkers of all time going head to head. That was the equivalent of what we wanted to see when it came to Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, which we never got to see. Damn shame, but that's pretty much what that was. But Dr. J prevailed, came out on top. The Nets won, and that was his championship in the ABA with the New Jersey Nets. In his 9 professional years in the NBA, this is David Thompson, that is, he averaged over 22 points, a steal, a block, a little over 3 assists, and a little fewer than 4 rebounds per game. Other than that, he had tremendous ability to drive to the basket and stop for no man on his way there. This man walked through air as if he was Jesus walking on water. I mean, look at this. He's literally walking through the air. If that doesn't look like walking through the air, I don't know what it is. His hang time was ridiculous. He was just a beastly man. Beastly man. Just beastly. He was able to drive like no other driver in the game at that time. He had the ability to pull up for a jumper, hit it right in your face. He was known for shooting jumpers in your face. Isn't that a great thing to be known for? I mean, it's great to be known for dunking. It's great to be known for like blocking shots, but to be known for shooting a ball and making it in your face consistently, no matter what you do, it's kind of like what Steph Curry must feel that. Steph Curry must have, go down the court, shoot the blue, shoot the blue. Every time, I hate when Steph Curry gets the ball and shoots the ball, because it's almost like every time he shoots it, no matter who's in front of him, how long he is, how tall he is, he's gonna make it. Hate him. So I'm assuming that's what David Thompson was to a lot of the players back in the 70s. When he was at the peak of his game, no one could slow him down, and no one did. If you take the seasons in which he did great in his early career, I calculate that was 6 years. He only played 9, mind you. His scoring average was 25 points a game in his first 6 years. Now that puts him in prime company. That almost puts him in LeBron James company. What, LeBron averages about 27 points a game? Now mind you, it's only 6 seasons. But you also got to imagine that this dude didn't even reach his prime yet. When he was doing all that, he was still a pup. He was still a pup, man. He wasn't even 27, 28 years old. He also holds the 3rd highest single scoring game in NBA history, scoring 73 points. He didn't play the whole game either, scoring 51 in the first half, and he sat down most of the 3rd quarter and 4th quarter. He could have easily have scored 83 points, if you ask me, if he barely played the 4th quarter and only a little bit of the 3rd quarter, which is amazing. Kobe Bryant played every bit of that game where he scored 81 points. So imagine if this dude scored the entire if he played the entire game. Even Michael Jordan was impressed, and I quote, "Wow, when you score 73 points, you have to be doing everything right. You have to be hitting your shots, getting steals, dunking, all that." In his drug-free seasons, he averaged 26 points in the playoffs, which is the Denver Nuggets' best. All those stats are from his first 3 years. That's scary, isn't it? His first 3 years, he was only 22, 23 years old. Isn't that crazy? In his drug-free seasons, he averaged 26 points in the playoffs, which is the Denver Nuggets' best. All those stats are from his first 3 years. That's scary. Think about it. His first 3 years, he was in his early 20s. Like, come on, he didn't even hit his prime yet. Now, let's get off the whole stat thing, because as we all know, stats are overrated, to say the least. David Thompson was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 1996 while playing only 9 years and having only 6 drug-free years. It shows you what he could have been, doesn't it? This man made the Hall of Fame, only played 9 years. No real great college performances to really go off of. It wasn't like he was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or that year or something like that. When David Thompson started the whole drug thing, we established that the Nuggets probably was going to get rid of him as soon as possible, and they did. They got rid of him for a much less successful player than Bill Hensley, who was actually the Nuggets analyst now on altitude for those who recall his name. This is what really shows the basketball world that even though they were giving him a lot of money, if he messed up, he was pretty much gone. He was pretty much on the short list. And he kept doing the drugs. And by his own admission, he didn't have the willpower to stop, so they shipped him off to Seattle. Now, on to a short-lived career in Seattle. In his 2 short years in Seattle, he averaged career lows in scoring and had a sad career to pretty much sum it up. If you remembered, and most of us don't, but the people who were probably in the 50s and 60s, if you knew who David Thompson was, the great player that he was, when he went off to Seattle, he was no longer that. He was basically a shell of himself. And yeah, like I said, he had a sad career there in Seattle. He led them to the playoffs, but they would be dealt the first round exit, and David only played in 2 of those games in the first round. In his second season as a Supersonic, he hardly played, so that was to no avail. He tried to come back to the NBA and play for the Indiana Pacers after that, but he couldn't, and was dealt after another failure to his belt, and it was all thanks to drugs. In his second season as a Supersonic, he hardly played, so that was to no avail. He tried to come back to the NBA and play for the Indiana Pacers, but then he couldn't, and he was dealt another failure to his belt, all thanks to drugs. From the highest paid player to no one wanted him. I can't even imagine. And now he's a player pretty much living a life of regret, having gotten over his drug problems. Recently made a national TV appearance as a judge of the 2009 All-Star Dunk Contest. That's pretty much fitting, considering that he used to deliver some of the most mind-blowing dunks. Even now, you look back at some of the dunks he did during the game. It's pretty mind-boggling how great he was. In his first few seasons, he was arguably the best in the league. After the whole drug thing, all his stats, his general play, everything just pretty much plummeted. Now, where the whole what could have been comes in is where if he didn't take drugs, if he didn't retire because of drugs, what could have been? Could he have been a top 5 player? Could he have been a top 2 player? Could he have been Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan? I actually think he could. If you go back and look at the type of play that he had, he was actually a replica. Well, actually, Jordan is a replica of him. If you go back and look at how he did his fadeaways, did the come off the pick and just drain shots left and right, he was a master of the mid-range shot, and he played above the rim. His post work was great. His footwork was great. His handles were great. He was quick. He was fast. He can jump. He had good defense. He was 6'4", so he was smaller than Michael Jordan. He was more so. He was more like Dwayne Wade, but definitely could jump higher than Dwayne Wade. He was just an all-around beast. So I just want to give David Thompson his flowers. Definitely a career unfulfilled, but for the 6 years he gave us where he wasn't on drugs, it was a flash of brilliance. So I wanted to salute David Thompson and everything that he did. Once again, this is Sports Fans Only. As you hear my dog eating his dog food, don't you just love animals? Right in the middle of everything, they just start eating, chewing bones and all types of nonsense. But anyway, I got through to the end. So anyway, guys, this is KJ, the Sports Guru. This is Sports Fans Only. What Could Have Been, featuring David Thompson. We'll be back next week. I hope you guys have a great week. See you later. Peace.